I think people get stuck in like the destination disease, and it's like there's never a day when you arrive at like,
no,
I'm a businesswoman. You just are a businesswoman. Like,
hey, welcome to this podcast, Little Girls Aren't Taught This. I am your host, Lydia McCartney. I am a reclaim and embodiment coach, the queen of deep trauma transformations, and my superpower is helping women heal the core traumas that fracture their self-love and block them from stepping into their power and the life that they desire. My motto is action plus embodiment equals freedom, and this is the podcast unlike no other. In this podcast, I am going to plant little seeds of self-love that allow you to begin to develop your sense of self-awareness and really understand what self-love means for you. So let's jump into this week's episode. Hello, my love. Welcome to this podcast episode. It's nice to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. So for people that don't know who you are, just introduce yourself and explain your vibe.
Okay, so I'm Josie. You might know me as Josie Peaches on Instagram. If you don't already follow me, come over. It's a good time. I am an say this in speech marks influencer and content creator. How can I explain what I do? I don't like to, being really honest, I don't like to downplay myself and be like, I'm a beauty and fashion influencer, because I like to think that I am, oh my God, sorry, that was my phone. I like to think I am so much more than that, to be honest. So I like to keep everything real. I like to make content that people can relate to. I like to do the anti-influencer things alongside the normal influencer things as well. So when I'm getting cute videos and cute pictures, posing in cute clothes, I always get the unflattering angles as well. I always show the bad days. I always show the reality behind a filming day, and you know, all the things that you don't see on like a perfect influencer Instagram feed, basically.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to get you on the podcast episode, because we've done a live together before and a lot of people got a lot from it. And I think the thing I love about you is obviously I've known you since you were in high school, or like known of you. And I think I've followed you for many, many years. So I've witnessed your journey, which is really nice. And that's usually the thing that someone will say to me, oh, I've witnessed your journey from A to B. So for me to witness yours has been really nice. And I feel like you are an influencer, but you're very empowering as well for a lot of people. And you're just really authentic, which is so nice to see.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't think I used to be as authentic as I am now, but that's growth, isn't it? And that's like things are happening along the way, you know, make my content more authentic and things like that. I've been thinking about it a lot recently, actually, like the journey that I've been on with content and how it started to just not sit right with me. Like influencer culture, I actually hate it. Like, and I know a lot of influencers feel the same, but they're scared to step out of that like boundary and like step out of the comfort zone of like, I'm an influencer, so I have to like, there's this expectation of me to like post this picture or post this video or pose in this way or sit in a fucking car like holding the wheel and holding the Starbucks. Like, oh God, that stuff cringes me off so much. Like, I hate things like that. But you know, I've been there. I did used to post, I mean, admittedly never posted a picture in a car like that, but you know, that same sort of like stuff. But along the way, things just happened, and like, I hate to be cliche, I think I might have said this to you on the live and been like, oh, I went to Australia and it changed my life, but genuinely it did. Like, it made me see outside of the vanity of Liverpool. Like, I didn't know how vain Liverpool was until I left. It's probably the same when you went traveling as well, I imagine. Like,
so big.
You don't realise until you step out of it. And I'd give that as advice to anyone, by the way. Like, get out of your hometown, like go and see the world, see how other people live, see what's actually important in life. Because that was the best thing I ever done for my content. Like, my content just went from 0 to 100 when I came back and had a different outlook like on it, because I was just thinking, what am I offering people by posing. And don't get me wrong, I still love like a posing picture. I get that. Like,
What appears you pose photo?
Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? And you feel like a bad bee when you get them, and that's like boss. And I think everyone should do that. But there's got to be more to life and to what I offer people than just them looking at my page for fashion inspo. Because I was finding that I was meeting people in real life, just people that I'd made online, or I'd meet other bloggers at events, and they'd be like, God, you're actually not like you're nothing like you are on the internet, but there's so much more to you in real life than like what I ever would have thought. Or the whole thing of like, I thought you were a bitch on the internet, but like now I've met you in real life, you're really nice. And like, I just thought I'm not showing like who I am, like the things that matter to me. Do you know what I mean? So that's where the content being a bit more authentic came into it.
I love that. I think as well I can resonate with that, because I remember when I started my account and it was a fitness account, and now I just look back and I think, oh, you're such a twat, and like no one's told me. Like I was, and I fell into the fitness influencer style content, just doing it because it was what you done at the time. And actually I got to a point where it was just so boring. And actually you realize that if you're going to have a platform, you want to be able to show yourself and you want to be able to be authentic. And then it would be like that thing of, if I didn't feel good in my body, I would either like over post for validation, or I wouldn't post at all, which then had like an impact on my business. And I was like, this makes no sense. And then when I started going through like the self-growth journey, and I was just like, I remember when I was a PT and I'd put up eating like McDonald's and stuff, and actually women were like, I was fully booked, because women were like, we just love you, like we just love how real you are. And you realize that being yourself is the greatest gift that you can ever give yourself and anybody who comes onto your page.
Yeah, 100%. People resonate with it so much more, because even when you watch someone online, you know yourself, like you think, oh my God, you're definitely not like that in real life, or like, oh, like you can become quite awkward in front of a camera, I think, when you're trying to be someone else, when you don't know what to do. But when you actually are just yourself, like it resonates. Like, do you know what I mean? People pick up on that energy, and people want to watch your stuff, and they want to listen to what you've got to say, and they want to take your advice, because you can tell when it's coming from like an authentic place. Do you know what I mean? Defo was like the best thing that you can do for yourself to be like self-fulfilled, and also from a business standpoint, is just be yourself. 100%.
Yeah. How do you feel about you are an influencer, or how do you feel about the word influencer? Have you been on your own journey with like accepting that, embodying that, being proud of that?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and I definitely want to do some journaling on it. I've made a note in my phone to do some journaling on this, like to reclaim the status of an influencer. I went through a little phase where I wanted to maybe have in like my bio on Instagram, like, oh, like, I don't want to sound like pretentious or whatever, which is probably why I didn't do it, but like the anti-influencer. Like, but then I don't think I'm 100% an anti-influencer, because it's like in any job or any industry, there is parts of it that you might not like, but you do have to do like to be successful in that job. So yeah, okay, like sometimes I do just post like what I would say is like content with no substance. So it's just a picture of me just like posing out in town with like a drink or whatever, or some fashion inspo pics. And that's not something that I think adds value to a lot of people's lives. Don't get me wrong, like Instagram's for escapism as well. So at the end of the day, content, people are going to get something from it, whether it's helping them or not. It might just be like escapism sort of thing. So I wouldn't say I'm like entirely anti-influencer, because then I wouldn't be an influencer at all. So I didn't go as far to like put that in my bio, but I definitely do want to reclaim the status of it. Because do you remember that really famous video? I think you might have even shared it actually at the time. It was like a man giving a speech, and he was like, if you want to take the status of an influencer, you have to be influencing people to do something good. Like, loads and loads of people shared it, and I do agree with that. Like, I do think you have a duty of care. Influencers have a massive duty of care to everyone that follows them, to make sure that like they're not giving out like false information and things like that. But I think people get it misconstrued, because there's good and bad in every industry. Like there's like everyone's had like a dickhead manager who gives like managers a bad name, but not every manager's a dickhead. Do you know what I mean? Or like everyone's worked in a workplace with like a misogynistic man, but not every man would act like that. Do you know what I mean? It's the same. Like I don't agree when people are like, oh, influencers, what do they even do? Like, you know, they just stand there and like post pictures, and it's like, you've literally got no idea like how much work goes into this. I am a one-woman show. I plan, I film, I edit, I advertise, I post, I promote, I continue to share, I interact with every single person that shares my stuff. There's 8 things off the top of my head, and you want to tell me that I don't do anything? Like, do you know what I mean? If, say, like influencers do like an ad, I do an ad for, I don't know, there's some inset here, I do an ad for inset, right? Usually if you were the model for that ad, you would just turn up on the day, you get your hair and makeup done for you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not modeling, it's not a hard job, because that is as well. I've done it and it's tiring as fuck, but that's your one job and you know what you're doing. There'll be someone else there with the camera. There'll be someone else there doing the lights. Someone else will do all the editing after. Someone else will do all the promo when the shoot goes live. I do everything. I do it all. That's like, when people are like, oh, what are you getting paid for? Why do you get paid that much money? Because I'm doing literally 8 people's jobs. Like,
it's,
do you know what I mean?
It's a lot. And I think this is also like being a woman in business and also being a woman exactly the same as you. I mean, up until recently, I have had the expansion where I can take people on, which I'm so grateful for. But when I started out, and it's like, this is reflected, so like you will get paid that in terms of off brands. When I charge what I charge for coaching, I'm like, you've got no idea. It's like the time dedicated to me growing as a coach, you know, the investments I make, the reading I do, the university, like, it's not just me showing up on Instagram and going, oh, but with all my info. It's like, how do you think I show up the way that I do? Because it's all of the hours that go in behind it. And a lot of people don't see that. And I think sometimes people can project that, because if you're talking to someone who works 40 hours a week, like if I'm talking to someone in my family and they just go, you sit in a fucking office all day, like just talking on Instagram. And I'm like, you know, because you're unhappy in your job, don't reflect that onto me, because actually I work harder now than when I worked for somebody else, like a lot harder.
100%. People just cannot wrap their head around it. Like, I remember someone saying to me, and it was a dead valuable piece of advice, but also something that you can say to other people to like help them better understand, is like, say like if someone comes to do a job in the house, like, I don't know, a joiner, someone comes to fit doors and it only takes them half an hour, but it costs like however much, a few £100, and it's like, well, I'm paying you a few £100 for like, you know, that much time's work. And it's like, I'm not paying for the time that I'm in your house fitting the doors, I'm paying for the time it's took me to get that quick at fitting the doors in your house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so when someone's like, oh, well, you post a 30-second video and get paid X amount of money for it, it's like, you're not paying for the 30 seconds. You're paying for the time it took me to get good at the 30 seconds. Like, so people need to rationalise, you know what I mean? But I do think it's just a case of people are in genuine disbelief that you can make good money from doing something that makes you this happy, because, like you said, they're unhappy in their jobs. And I think the older generations as well, even like, not my mum in particular, because I'm dead lucky and she's dead supportive, but like that age group, they don't understand that like you don't have to work a job that you don't want to work. Like, you don't. And that is the top and bottom, is that you don't have to do anything in this life that you don't want to do.
No, you don't. And one of the things I really wanted to talk about on this podcast was when you first start out doing something. And I know for me, like when I first started out on my fitness Instagram, but mainly when I first started transitioning to being a coach, my mum and my dad and stuff, like, they didn't understand it, and they'd seen me in jobs, you know, that had come from my degrees and you could work your way up and all just the stereotypical 9 to 5. And then I come away from that and they were just like, it's not like a proper job. And like seeing the content that I was posting, and when I lost my nan and, you know, I went through the process of grief, a lot of people around me were like, why are you talking about that? Like, why are you sharing that? And I was like, because it's all part of the purpose to help somebody else. So when you first started doing your own thing, because you started as a blogger, didn't you?
Yeah.
Started as a blogger. How did you find that? Like, judgment from others, like people not getting you?
Oh God, it was horrible. Honestly, I think I was 18 when I started my written blog, and I'd wanted to do it since I was 15, and my only regret is not starting it sooner. Because I always think, like, where would I be now if I didn't like let other people's opinions get in my way? So that's the biggest bit of advice I'd give to anyone, is be like, honest, like, this journey's been so much harder for me than it could have been, because by the time I actually started on YouTube, like YouTubers and influencers were like, the whole industry was saturated. Like you think it's saturated now, like it was, everyone was doing it. And if I would have started when I was 15, like I don't know where I'd be now, but it's not worth thinking about because I didn't. But I started when I was 18, and I made a separate Instagram account, and I didn't tell anyone that I was doing it. I didn't tell like none of my mates, I didn't tell absolutely anyone, and I just posted like anonymously and tried to build up like an organic following. And like my mum knew, and like my sister, and like my boyfriends at the time and stuff. And then I think it was like my picture come up on the like explore page on Instagram, but this was like when I was 18, this was years ago now. So like the explore page wasn't like full with like reels and IGTVs, it was literally just like feed posts, and someone screenshot it and put it in like the girls group chat like that I was in, and was like, oh my god, like Josie, I think someone's like imitating you, like they thought it was like a fake account or something. And then someone else who like must have known, like I must have told her, oh, I've started the blog, and like confided in that person, which took a lot, was like, no, that's just her, ha, like, and like made like a joke sort of thing out of it. And then all the girls in the group chat that I was in, that I was supposed to be mates with, were like, oh my god, like what the fuck, like as if like, oh my god, hi guys, like all like taking a piss. And I was like, what the hell, like why would you be like that? And then like very quickly after that anyway, like we didn't like fall out, but like we just became not friends anymore, because they were on their own journey and I was on mine. And that happens when you leave school. And there still is some girls that I went to school with that like I'm mates with, but then there's others that like I don't know them. I don't know them anymore. Like I just do not know them at all. And the lads I went to school with, that's a different story. Like I was like honestly so petrified that if I started this YouTube channel that they were going to be like so critical, sharing it, taking the piss. And they did, like they absolutely did. I even went as far before I made my first YouTube video to block them. So like I went through my friends list, because at this point I was like 18, and I was thinking I'm not going to see these lads ever again. I haven't seen them for 2 years since I left school, so like makes no odds to me not having them on like Facebook or anything like that. So I went through my Instagram and my Facebook and my Twitter and just literally deleted and blocked like all these lads, because some of these lads had said like vile things to me in school. Like they'd said things like, if you killed yourself, like no one would miss you, like just don't do yourself, like that. And like I was in a bad place when they said them things, and they would never have known. So I was like, you don't even deserve to like see what I'm doing anyway. So I posted my first video, and then obviously that would have got screenshot by the girls, sent to the lads, and then before I knew it, the lads were commenting on like the video. And I was just like, oh, as if like you can't do anything, you can't have nothing, like why can't you just let me be happy? Like I don't criticize you for what you're doing or what you're not doing. Like, so why are you like in my space? Do you know what I mean? But the same people now that are saying, they put their arm around me and like, oh, we were dead good mates in school, we had this, we had that. And I'm like, no, we weren't. No, we weren't. Like, you never had my best intentions at heart ever. But my mum always says to me, be careful, you're upset on the way up because you might have to cross them again on your way back down. And it's true.
It's very true. How did you find branching out and following your dreams?
It was like, I always knew I didn't want it to just be a hobby, but it was a hobby for so long, because obviously I was in uni and like that was full time like dance training, and it just sort of happened like organically. Like don't get me wrong, I was always putting the work in every free second that I had. Like I've spoke about this a lot, saying like not in like a woe is me way, where I've missed out on a lot of things that girls my age have done, like girls' holidays and like trips away with like your boyfriends and stuff like that. When I had a boyfriend, like be like, should we book a holiday? I'd be like, I can't, I haven't got the money, because my money is going into lights, new cameras, new equipment. If there was ever a new makeup range like brought out, I was buying the whole thing and I was reviewing it on YouTube. Ever any like new edits on like Misguided PLT Nasty Gal, I was buying it all. I was doing a try on video. Like all my money went into that, because I was just always like, work hard now and you won't have to later. And I was like a long term like career driven person. I never got like a job. Yeah. I never got like a part-time job when my mates did, because I just put all my time into like YouTube and stuff. But I don't know, I think the more I done it and the more momentum I got behind me, I was like, just keep doing it, just keep going. And that was what like made me like you say, like branch out, like the branch was just growing with me. Do you know what I mean? And I was just going and going and going. And still am. You know, I'm not where I want to be or anything like that, but I'm happy with where I am. Like, I really, really am happy with where I am. It's scary, like, it is absolutely scary. And then I should evolve and stuff. And I made the decision at the start of the year to, like, stop using filters and stuff. Like, I didn't never, like, edit me pictures. Like, I've never edited my body or nothing like that. But, you know, Instagram story, like, filters, they just make you look like a completely different person. And I think the nail in the coffin for me with that was a girl messaged me, and then I noticed a few girls saying the same thing. They were like, oh my God, your skin is like amazing. And I was sitting there thinking, my skin's the worst it's been in a while. Like, and you wouldn't know because I'm using a filter. And I felt like I was selling people a lie. And the guilt I felt, I was like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, and how can I speak to people about authenticity and being yourself when I'm putting a fucking filter on my face? Like, do you know what I mean? They're like big steps, scary steps, but so rewarding now. I don't even think twice about it now. Like, and I know girls who won't post a picture without a filter on. I'm like, that's sad. Like, it's sad. You have to stop though. You have to stop to be able to start. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to just stop. And honestly, like, you just feel so much better for it.
I think as well, like, it's hard to be vulnerable online, isn't it? So, like, I always think about it, but now I'm gaining traction. And like the most bizarre thing for me is, like, sometimes I'll just be out, like I've been in a cafe working, and the chef has come from behind and being like, you're self-love Lydia, aren't you? Like, I follow you on Instagram. And I never know what to say. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so grateful. But then it makes you have like this little bubble, don't you, when you just show up on Instagram. And then it's like, oh shit, there's all these people following me. And you actually recognize me when I go out. And I think for me, one of the things that started to give me anxiety was exactly what you've said, is like, I would think about people meeting me out and they'd be like, she doesn't look like what she looks like on Instagram. Like, she's talking about X, Y, and Z, and she doesn't look like that, because people are judgmental and they do form opinions of you. So then I was just like, well, I just don't give a fuck. Like, I'm just going to be vulnerable and share all the things. So then when you see me, like, I want people to trust me. That's the biggest thing for me and my brand. Like, I want you to trust in me. And if that means I have to be vulnerable online, I will do so. But it was not easy when I first started doing that. Wow.
It's hard, isn't it? It's really hard. And people don't give enough credit for it. People are so quick to be like, oh my God, I've seen the state fair like this morning. Like, sometimes I'll like jump on like an Instagram story, someone I'm watching, like, wow, she looks rough in the morning there. But I'm just there thinking, yeah, but would you put yourself on Instagram when you've just woke up? Like, no, you absolutely wouldn't. So like, people are so quick to give the criticism, but don't actually realize like the strength it takes to do that. Like, it's a very, very vulnerable thing to let people see you at like all hours of the day, whatever you look like, no hidden agenda, like, just you are what you are. But the thing I always think about filters, like, I've got a mate that I know from uni, and she's absolutely like gorgeous, stunning girl, absolutely like to die for. Honestly, she's like stunning, and she edited pictures like so badly because she's so insecure. But I think you're driving your own insecurity, like, you're setting yourself up to fail, because then when you meet people in person, you're going to be more insecure, thinking, because you know you've edited your pictures, so you're going to be thinking, do these think, oh my God, she doesn't look like that in real life? So like, you're setting yourself up for that more levels of insecurity. So I just think, why would you do it? Like, just be yourself. If people don't like it, you can take it on the chin and be like, okay, well, I was myself though. Like, I'm just me. Like, I'm not hiding behind anything. And like, you feel better in all areas of your life. Like, I'm nowhere near as self-conscious as I used to be now because I don't post pictures with a filter anymore.
Yeah. I think as well, like, when you begin to lean into vulnerability and just take ownership of your shit, it's like, I always say to people now, if I was trolled online, or if anybody ever said anything to my face, because I'm being authentic in myself, I'd be like, I don't really give a fuck on your opinion, to be honest. Like, I don't care. Yeah. But when we have these insecurities and we're trying to be something that we're not, especially online, when someone points the finger at you, it can be like, oh my God, like, you take that like so personal. Yeah. And just really coming into yourself is so big. Like, I found that for business. And actually, we were saying before we press record on this, like, how yours has just happened. And that's what I always say. Like, when people say to me, explain the process, I'm like, it's just happened. And I think what's important for people is, if they want to have a business or they want to do a job that's outside of what everyone thinks you should have. You just get up every day and you work 1% at it. And as long as you're connected to your passion and what it is that you're trying to do, it will pay off, because it can't not pay off, is what I always say. Like, it can't not work out.
Yeah, I always say to people, like, when they're like, how's things going? I'm like, well, it's not going in the wrong direction, is it? I'm not getting more criticism because my content's shit. I'm gaining followers, I'm gaining traction, I'm getting people saying, like, your content really resonates with me, it helps me with this, it helps me with that. It's going in the right direction, regardless of the speed at which it's happening. Like, time is just a human construct anyway. So, like, as long as it's progressing upwards and it's not declining, then that's good enough for me. Do you know what I mean? And as well, I think people get stuck in, like, the destination disease, and it's like, there's never a day when you arrive at, like, no, I'm a businesswoman. You just are a businesswoman. Like, you have to, one of the best things, it's cliche for a reason, fake it till you make it. Even when I wasn't making no money, I was still hustling as much as I am now. Like, even when this weren't my job, even when people was like, it's not your real job, it's not your proper job. Like, even when I still had to go and work in a job just to get, like, way to pay the bills, I was still treating this as my job. Like, this is my job and I don't take that lightly, and I never ever have. Like, it's a responsibility that I show up for every single day. And that's how, like, it just happens. There's not, like, a start date the same way that there would be with a normal job. Like, you don't sign a contract and go, okay, today is my first day as, you know, an influencer, or today is my first day as a coach. Like, it just happens naturally.
And it never stops. And it's the only thing that's difficult is it's so hard to switch off.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so bad.
So hard. Like, honest to God, I could sit up all hours and, like, do work or read or study, and I'm just like, there has to be time where you switch off and come away from it. And I think also setting boundaries, like, if anyone's listening to this and does want to have a business, you've got to fucking set boundaries with yourself, otherwise you'll just work yourself into the ground.
That's what I've done the past, like, month, I'd say. And I had proper burnout the other week. Like, I get, like, bad burnout anyway, where when I've, like, worked too hard, I've always had it since I was a kid, when I'd be going from school to dancing, and then over weekends I'd be at a dance competition, I'd be back in school on Monday morning, and I just wouldn't have a break. And my mum would always notice it before it was coming, and she'd be like, you are heading for burnout and you're going to get sick, you'll end up having 2 weeks off school because you'll be, like, proper unwell. And it's still the same now, and I can feel it when it's coming, like, because the last few months, it seems to have been since January, like, dead mad. I have just been so manic with the amount of work that I've had, but because it's not all in one place, and I'm not, like, referring back to the same person to go, here's the deadline for this, here's the deadline for that, that's where it'd be helpful to have a manager, because I just do the bit and then send it to them, and then they divvy it out to all the different brands. They'd sort all my invoices, but I'm getting paid this much from this brand, this much from this one, this, and it's like, that needs to go on this date, that needs to go on this date, and it's hectic, like, it's manic. And the other day, for the first time, I was literally like, I could cry how stressed I am at this job, and I've not had that yet. But at the same time, I was like, well, that's a little bit exciting now. Like, that's a little bit, like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, that's good. I've got to this point where I'm like, oh my God, I'm stressed at my job. Like, how bad is that? Like, do you know what I mean?
Love it.
I wouldn't change it.
No, I got to that point a few weeks ago, and that's why I hired a VA. And I was like, and it felt so, and I was like a school girl. I was like, oh my God, I've hired a staff member, like, I can't. And I was celebrating something, because I always have, like, celebrations for business if I hit, like, I don't know, if I hit a target or whatever it is. And I joined, we had this Zoom meeting to see if we were, like, a fit. It was like an informal interview, and I come on with a glass of red wine, and I was like, you know what, it's small moments like that where you do your own, when you're in your own business and you're the own creator of your life. And I was like, it's 4:30, I've hit a goal today in business. I'm like taking someone on with a glass of fucking red just because I can. And I was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing.
Yes, it's inspiring as fuck, stuff like that. Like, yesterday, well, over the weekend, after I'd had, like, a whole burnout thing, I was like, right, next week I'm getting my shit together. On Monday, I spent all day, dead slow day, I cleaned up, I planned my whole week, I'd done my to-do list for the week. And then yesterday I was like, I think I'm going to go shopping today. And then I was walking around town, I was in Zara, and I had these bags, and I was like, right, I'm going to get this. And I was like, should I be spending this money though? Because, like, you know, like you're just taught always like save money, don't spend it.
And money mindset's huge.
Honest to God. And then I was like, no, I can. This is my money and I've worked for it. And this is I'm so grateful for this element of my job that it's a Tuesday and I'm 24. I'm walking around town shopping because I can. I'm going to take myself for lunch and a coffee. I'm going to plan. I have my computer with me. I was like, I'm going to plan, I'm going to edit. And then I'm just going to go home and I'm going to a dance class tonight. And that's my day of work. Like, how lucky am I that I get to do that? Like,
honestly,
it's mental. It's a mad feeling, but it's amazing.
And you know what? Like, people lose sight of, unless you're on the journey, you lose sight of those days. But those days are worth their weight in gold. Like, forget the cars, forget the whatever, the fucking houses and all of this stuff. It's moments like that. And I always have moments like that where I'm like, I can go into a shop and say it's Zara, I can just pick things up without thinking about what it is if I like it, because I'm like, it's just that abundance mindset is there, and I'm so grateful. Like, I can go to a coffee shop and sit for hours and just work. Those moments are honestly like worth their weight in gold in terms of self-worth, but also in terms of like motivating you even more.
Yeah, I think so.
You just be your own motivation, don't you?
Yeah, and I'm always there thinking, have I not got like somewhere else to be though? Like, where's the catch? Have I not got a shift somewhere? Like, have I not got somewhere else to be? And I was like, no, this is it. Like, this is just my life.
And then it's like don't you just want to bottle that up and be able to teach everybody else it, because you're like, life can be this way, but everyone's so in like the 9 to 5 mindset.
Yeah,
and it's just like,
it's sad. It is sad. I was literally speaking with someone about this yesterday, saying like, it's sad that like capitalism and the way that the world is makes people think that you have to work like this insane amount of hours to get the money to live a fulfilled life, but you spend that much time earning the money that your life isn't fulfilled anyway. Like, having money sitting in the bank from a good job means nothing when you're not happy anyway, because like you know, what are you going to do with that money? You can't buy happiness. Like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's sad that people are in that mindset, because that's what we're taught to think. It's only that, like, I'm lucky, like I said before, like my mum is like dead supportive, and she's always been like, you can do what you want. And I've had jobs that I didn't like, and like she was like, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go. Like, no one's forcing you to go. But I understand that's a privilege. That's a massive privilege, because some people my age, their mum and dads were like on their case to like, you need to get a job, you need to start paying rent, you need to pay for your own driving lessons, you need to do this. So it was a privilege, and I understand that. But at the same time, I think more people need to learn to be supportive of like, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do that. Like, no one's forcing you to do that. I couldn't like ever get my head around how people go to work for someone else. Like, even before I worked for myself, I was like, is this life? I remember like having a proper mad moment when I worked in hospitality, and I asked for a day off, and they were like, why do you need this day off? And it was like, because I had plans with my mates or whatever. And I was like, because like I want it off. Like, it's my life. And they're like, well, your job comes first. And I was like, does it though? Because this job actually means fuck all to me. And like, I really want to go to the stick with my mates. Like, and I remember thinking, like, I come out the office and I was like, it's mad that I've just had to go and ask someone for permission with what to do with like my day, because they pay my way in life. Like, that's mad. Like,
it's crazy.
That's the headspace I can't get into. Like, it makes no sense to me, and it never has.
No, and I think it's hard for people to transition out of it, but it's definitely doable. And I think the first place to start is understanding what it is that lights you up. Like, just find something that makes you happy and start off as a hobby. And then if it's meant to be, then, you know, that's where the expansion and the support will come in from the universe. One of the things I did want to talk to you about as well is I seen recently that you were posting about grief, and, you know, you were being very honest on social media about it, and I admire you for that. I remember last year when I posted mine, and it was so therapeutic, and actually the amount of just like respect that got me as a coach and just a human, because these are the things that we don't talk about. And I think that's one of the things actually that makes you different as an influencer. Is we've spoken about body image before. How are you finding the process of grief and sharing it? And
so this is dead interesting, and it goes full circle with the whole influencer culture thing. But with sharing the experience of grief, it was very vulnerable because I was thinking like grief is such a personal thing, and everything that I was like documenting, and I was like, is this right or normal to like feel this way? Forgetting that there is no right or normal way to grieve. Like you just feel how you feel, and you just need to let the emotions like flow through you and stuff. And when I posted it, like you say, like it was so rewarding, the amount of people that come back to me and were like, thank you so much for documenting this like so honestly, because like I think I documented the whole week, and I posted it in my weekly vlog, which goes up on the Sunday. So my granddad passed on the Tuesday, and obviously I didn't pick the camera up on the Tuesday, like, but the night before was when I'd hit 10k, and like you said, like you always have like celebrations and stuff when you hit like milestones. So 10k for me was massive. Like people think that you're just celebrating a number on Instagram. It's not. I'm not even going to go into what it is that you're celebrating, but to put it bluntly, like when you get 10k, that opens more business opportunities. You have a swipe up link on your stories, which means more brands value you. You know, you've got a bigger following, you're going to reach more like people, like, so all these things. Anyway, I've been out and celebrated, and literally the next morning my granddad passed away, so I didn't pick the camera up. And then on the Wednesday morning I picked it up and I had a little chat to the camera, and then the Thursday I was like, I actually feel all right today, like not feeling so bad, like got some stuff to do, maybe we'll have to go like the funeral directors and things like that. And then it was like the following day, I think, or the day after, me and my mate had planned a surprise party for my other friend, Kelsey. And that had been planned weeks in advance. And my mate was like, listen, like, if you don't want to come, fucking hell, like, it's fine. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, no, I'm going to come. And I was literally dragging myself through getting ready because I felt so bad. I was like, I can't think of anything worse than leaving this house at the minute. Like, and you're thinking about everyone else. I'm thinking about my mum. I'm thinking about my nan. I'm thinking about everything. And the week just proper caught up to me, and I documented all of that. But then I also did go. I went to the party and I had a proper lovely night, and I documented that as well. So I think people were like happy that I'd shared every single stage of emotion. And I think that's so, so important, because people do think that like when you have a presence online, it's like you said before, you're in a bubble on Instagram, and then you dissociate yourself from that when you go to a coffee shop and you're just you then. But people didn't see you outside of the bubble of Instagram. So I think being vulnerable breaks that bubble and makes people see you a little bit more as a human, like for who you are. I found it rewarding to share. I definitely would recommend doing it, like, but just like for yourself. What was the other question that you asked? How do I feel about
just like how it's process?
Yeah. So I just think, I don't know, it's crazy, isn't it? Like I remember you saying things like this on your stories as well. When you lost your nan, was like, you'll be fine, but then you like smell something, or like you see something, or you hear a song, or like, I don't know, like you will be fine, and then literally one little thing, and that's like, oh God, that's made me feel weird actually. Or some days it's just unbearable. Like the thought of my nan just being on her own, I'm like, oh my God, like that is just like the worst feeling in the world, do you know what I mean? Or going to my nan's and my granddad not being there. It's like, I'm still waiting for him to like come back. I'm like walking around, I'm like, I'm really messing, like just mad, like it's crazy. But yeah, it is. It's something that we've all got in common. It's the only thing in life that we have all got in common, is that we all, unfortunately, you know, we all die at one point. So to not document that when pretending to be a weekly vlogger would be hard, because do you know what I mean? It comes to all of us, doesn't it, is what I'm trying to say. But I sort of took the positive from that, and I wanted to reiterate the fact that like I didn't do this intentionally, but when my granddad was unwell, he was sick for a few months and leading up to his death, and I'm grateful in a way that it wasn't long, because I would have been like, it would have been so much worse to see him like deteriorate over. Some people are unwell for years. Do you know what I mean? It was only a few months.
Yeah.
But I was very much kept that off the internet because I wanted the internet to be for my own sake. It was sort of became a bit more of a selfish thing at that point. It was like, this is my safe space that I need outside of what's going on in my family. I'm going to keep my content and all of that as like happy, uplifting, positive, and I'll share this when I'm ready. So I didn't share any of it, but I remember having days where I was picking that camera up being like, right, so today I'm just doing this, blah, 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 or I'd be signing off at the end of the night and I'd be like, right, I'm going to bed, see you later. put the camera down, go to my nan and granddad's, be up through the night with him unwell, stay there all night, come back home next morning and be like, good morning. Now for all people now, I'd only just put the camera down and went to bed, and that was it. They didn't know that. So I wanted to use that and be like, just so you know, this has been going on for months and I'm fine. So I'm not saying this for my own sake. I am, however, saying this to reiterate the fact that you really do never know what someone's going through behind closed doors. Like, you know, Caroline Flack, for example, obviously everyone knows an example, but she's one of a million people who've like very fucking sadly fell victim to like online trolling and things like that, and like just people being insensitive, basically. So it's like, I'm not saying this is like a pity party, like no one knew what I was going through. That was my choice and I chose to do that, and I'm sound in that choice that I made. But take that as a lesson, that even though I was weekly vlogging for weeks, you still had no idea that was going on. So like that's how easy it is to hide it. Like, do you know what I mean? So there was definitely a lesson in that for me to give to other people. So again, my content always comes back to trying to teach other people about, like, do you know, like there's a lesson in everything really, isn't there?
Yeah, I think honestly as well, losing my nan has been the biggest blessing of my whole fucking life. And like sometimes people look at me, or like if I'm around the family and I say that and they're like, what? And I'm like, she just gave me a million lessons in this lifetime that she could give me, that more so than what she could give me if she was still here. And grief is so different for everybody, but it's also very similar in so many ways. And I just like found it so therapeutic shit in the process. And also everything I do comes back to legacy. And I always talk about, so when I done my eulogy at a funeral, I was like, I'm gonna write about you in my books. And I always think one of the things for me is people now know my nan's legacy. They can physically see what she meant, which means even though she's gone, her legacy still lives through me. And when I mention it in my books and people buy my book, and they will be like, oh, they will remember her. So it's like always allowing her legacy to live through me, which was just so important. And I just think it was a shit time, my God, but it was probably one of the best things I've had for growth. But that's we always have the celebrations, and then we have the difficulties, and that's where the growth happens, unfortunately.
Definitely. I agree.
Process. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been wonderful. Any last reflections before we finish, and where can people find you?
I think that was a nice place for us to leave it. Like, growth always comes from like the darkest of places and things like that. So I know it's like cliche to like finish on this and say, like, if you're going through a shit time at the minute, like, just remember it doesn't last forever. It's true. And there will be so many lessons in whatever you go through that you won't even realise that you've learned until way, way after. That's my closing statements. But you can find me on Instagram, TikTok and YouTube at Josie Peaches. My Instagram is just Josie Peaches, TikTok Josie Peaches. It's the same across all platforms.
Gorgeous. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
You too. Thank you very much.